Coming up, Giannis outduels the Nets, and the 10 playoff teams in the East are set. This is Locked On Now NBA.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Now NBA, local experts on the biggest stories on the hardwood. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. We've got all our Locked On NBA hosts here to recap a full night of action last night, and we're going to start out with the Bucks, who won a potential playoff preview in what was easily last night's biggest game.
The biggest game.
The Bucks and the Nets could meet up in the first round of the playoffs, and if last night was any indication of what we're going to see between these two teams in a series, it's going to be really good for basketball fans. Giannis and the Bucks won the battle of heavyweights, and Locked On Bucks and Nets take you through that game.
What's up, everyone? Kane Pittman here from Locked On Bucks. Just moments after the Bucks beat the Nets 120-119 in an overtime classic. We thought the game against the Sixers a couple of days ago was a good one, but this one was even better. And Giannis, once again, is the story in this game. He finishes with 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. He was 15 for 19 from the free throw line. He passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the franchise leading scorer with the Milwaukee Bucks. Just another incredible night from Giannis. And we spoke about the offensive package that he put together against the Philadelphia 76ers with the variety of jump shots. He took it one step further in this game. I already mentioned the free throw shooting, but this man hit a step back three to tie the game in regulation. And then in the overtime period, he hit the 2 clutch free throws, the go-ahead free throws to give the Bucks the win. Listen, we've seen this guy in the NBA Finals. He did it in Game 6 of the NBA Finals at the free throw line, and that was a huge step for him in terms of delivering in the clutch. This was perhaps the only area you could question him as a player. Now he's come back this season, and not only is he willing to take those shots, he wants those shots. He believes he's going to knock them down. And for 2 nights in a row against 2 contenders in the East, he has delivered when the Bucks absolutely needed him. Tonight was an absolute classic. I think anytime these two teams play against each other, anytime you get a chance to see Durant and Giannis go one-on-one, head-to-head as they were down the stretch, it's a joy if you enjoy basketball. But this was a classic game. Giannis, as I said, into the history books, franchise leading scorer with the Milwaukee Bucks. And now it's going to be very hard to deny this man a third MVP after this performance. Bucks win it. This was really fun. The last couple of days have got us all ready for playoff basketball. We're going to wrap it up on Locked On Bucks. Join us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube.
Doug Norrie, Locked On Nets, coming at you following one of the better regular season games you're going to see. Felt like a playoff game, goes to overtime. Crushing loss for the Nets. They drop 120-119. Looked like the Kevin Durant last shot to beat the buzzer in overtime was going to go down. He got a good look. It ended up not getting there. This game was back and forth, got real chippy, some flagrant fouls, an ejection. It had kind of, beyond that, just a couple superstars battling it out as well. Like I said, had all the feel of a playoff game in the regular season. Could be a matchup we see when we get to the playoffs as well. It was a game the Nets really could have used to win, to try to shore up some of this play-in game nonsense that they still are a part of, but they're not able to take the W at home against Giannis and the Bucks. We are going to be breaking down the entire game, if we're able to. I'm still kind of reeling from this one over on the Locked On Nets podcast.
The Pistons shocked the 76ers on Thursday, and Cade Cunningham continues to look like a future superstar in this league. Locked On Pistons, all smiles after a big win for Detroit.
This was by far the best game of the season. I don't care. I've said that probably like 2 times over the past month or so because of how well the Pistons have been playing, but this game right here, by far best game of the season. The Detroit Pistons beat the Philadelphia 76ers with both Joel Embiid and James Harden playing by a score of 102-94. Cade Cunningham continued to show that he is going to be a future superstar in this league and that he should be the Rookie of the Year tonight against the Sixers. He hit 12 of 20 shots, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. Played extremely well. Amazing game from him. He's going to be unstoppable. I can't wait till the team gets to the playoffs because his in-between game in the restricted area, his pull-up midi, his finishing around the rim, he's going to be an absolute handful to stop. This dude's going to be a superstar. And once he gets his pull-up three going, and once he gets his outside game really coming along with it, like we know it's going to, good luck. Good luck to the rest of the league. Screw Rookie of the Years. That dude's going to be playing for MVPs. This dude, Kate Cunningham, is out of this world. He's crazy. And it wasn't just him tonight. We had contributions from everywhere. Killian Hayes had another one of his best games of the season, continues to show improvement, continues to show why I've believed in him. Isaiah Livers continues to be an amazing pickup by Troy Weaver. Marvin Bagley, before getting hurt, he played a really good game. Sadiq had 20 points. Kelly Olynyk did his thing. Like, this was an overall great game by the Detroit Pistons. Amazing game. We'll talk about it more on tomorrow's episode of the Lockdown Pistons podcast.
The Atlanta Hawks are back officially into the playoffs after a win over the Cavaliers last night, and now the 10 teams in the East are set for the playoffs. Locked On Hawks recaps the win in Atlanta over Cleveland.
Hello, friends. My name is Brad Rowland, and the Atlanta Hawks get a fourth consecutive victory on this Thursday night, knocking off Cleveland at home. And with the win, the headliner of the night is the Hawks have clinched a spot in the play-in, a postseason berth once again for Atlanta. Obviously, sort of a low bar to clear to get that play-in spot with only the Wizards and Knicks behind them, but still now official for the Hawks as April is nearing. And really, the Hawks played very well in this game against Cleveland. Trae Young was very, very good when he was available and healthy. In fact, there was a bit of an injury scare for Trae late in the first half. He ended up bouncing back, playing in the third quarter, and looking like his old self. Clint Capella was awesome. Kevin Huerter was awesome in this game. Lots of positives for the Hawks. And really, for the last couple of weeks, the Hawks have been playing very well despite an easy schedule. Worth noting that easy schedule is definitely part of the calculus as the Hawks have been playing better basketball, but still they're shooting the ball very well and performing at a high level in advance of what is going to be a big game on Saturday against the Brooklyn Nets. We'll have coverage on that game coming up, this game tonight, and much more on the Locked On Hawks podcast.
The Utah Jazz broke a 5-game losing streak by beating that beat-up Lakers team without its stars. Locked On Jazz recaps Utah's get-right game.
The Utah Jazz end their 5-game losing streak with a 122-109 coast-to-coast victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. David Locke of Locked On Jazz. And while the Jazz desperately needed a win and they got the Lakers as the perfect recipe without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the biggest part of this game might be the Jazz finally got healthy. Bojan Bogdanovic and Daniel House were both back in the lineup. And the Jazz played a 9-man rotation, which is likely the first attempt to find a playoff rotation. Hassan Whiteside got good medical news as well before the game and should return shortly for the Jazz. They did not play Rudy Gay tonight. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who was acquired at the trade deadline, got those minutes instead in the Jazz rotation. We'll see if that is something that will last as the Jazz move forward. Their win puts them 3 games ahead Minnesota for the play-in game and securing a 6th playoff spot at minimum. They head to Golden State for their next game. For more, go to Locked On Jazz and the Locked On Podcast Network.
The Lakers are still on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoff picture after another loss, and their schedule isn't getting any easier. Locked On Lakers says Los Angeles put up a good fight without LeBron or AD, but a good fight just isn't going to cut it at this point.
This is Andy Kamenetsky, co-host of Locked On Lakers podcast, and the Lakers lose to the Jazz 122-109 shorthanded in Utah. All things considered, I actually thought it was a really respectable night for the Lakers. They certainly executed a lot better than they did in the blowout loss in Dallas. Played a lot more together, as Frank Vogel pointed out repeatedly afterwards. Dwight Howard, really nice game for Dwight. 21 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 12 rebounds. Russell Westbrook, 24 points, 9 of 18 from the field, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, just 3 turnovers. But ultimately, they were just too undermanned to handle Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, old friend Jordan Clarkson, and the Jazz at full strength. But good news, potentially at least, multiple reports that LeBron James and Anthony Davis could be back Friday for a crucial game against the New Orleans Pelicans, and for the Lakers to have any hope of staying in the play-in mix. They are currently on the outside looking in, so they really need those guys back. A lot more to get into, so make sure that you are subscribing to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel and that you are making Locked On Lakers your first listen wherever you get your podcasts.
That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Now NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you check out Locked On NBA and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now.